Chapter 22. Down we go, screaming and thrashing our arms. The sea sucks back, and just as we're about to smash head first onto the rocks, talons scrape across my back and I'm swept into the air. I see wind swinging from Pickle's other clawed hand. Pickle's wings beat hard again, and we soar higher and higher, away from the magic road and Croaky and his army. Relief sweeps through me until I realise that as the crow's nest falls behind us, we're leaving Grandad behind too. But when I see just how high up we are and how loosely Pickle seems to be holding me, all thoughts of anything disappear. "My hat's burnt!" Win laughs, pulling it off his head to show me. He has a big grin on his face, but I can't even talk. I lied when I told Rose I wasn't afraid of anything. I'm afraid of loads of things, but most of all I'm afraid of heights. Or rather, falling. The clouds floating below my feet make my insides feel like liquid and my legs tremble. No, it makes all of me tremble. "Wow!" cries Win. "Look at the Tangled Forest, it's so pretty." "Win," I managed to say, "we're dangling in the claws of a dragon, about a mile off the ground. It's not pretty. It makes me want to puke." Then I squeeze my eyes shut while Win gives me a running commentary of our journey over Raw. "I think my cave is over there. Ooh, check out the tiny trees." I only risk a quick look down when Win tells me we're flying over the archipelago. No, archipelago, I think, remembering the tiny islands drawn on the map. I'm tempted to try to spot more landmarks from the map, to find the Tangle Forest and the on-off waterfall, but I can't quite bring myself to raise my head. Win laughs. "Ha! I haven't been here for ages. The water looks like silver." Floating below us are the hundreds of islands that make up Archipelago. They're dotted across water that's so still I can see Pickle's and Vlad's reflections sailing below us, and even me and Win swinging from Pickle's claws. I feel myself slip ever so slightly and shut my eyes again. If I can't see, I can almost pretend this isn't happening, but I can't ignore Pickle's deadly burps. At least I hope they're burps. Rushes of hot, smelly gas keeps whipping past my face, making me squeeze my mouth shut as well as my eyes. And Vlad doesn't make the journey go any smoother. I can hear him circling us, shrieking at Pickle and trying to draw him into play fights. "Arthur!" Win has to shout to be heard over the dragon's beating wings. "I think we're landing!" I open one eye. He's right. We've dropped lower and are circling an island. I haven't been able to speak to Rose since Pickle snatched us to safety, but I guess she knows where we're going. As we spiral closer to the island, I see it has a lagoon in the middle, and off to one side a hut with a jetty. It looks vaguely familiar, and so does the dark shape meandering below the surface of the lagoon like a giant goldfish. Pickle is gliding now, but we're not slowing down. If anything, as the ground rushes up to meet us, it feels like we're going faster. "Do you reckon Rose has remembered we're down here?" shouts Win. "Definitely!" I yell. But then Pickle flies so low over a field that we have to pull our legs up to stop them from being dragged along the rocky earth. Maybe. Moments before we smack into the ground, Pickle swings left, opens his talons and drops us onto a pile of dry grass. For a moment we just lie there, curled up and stunned. Then Win leaps to his feet and cries. "That was mind-blowing! Let's do it again." I simply groan and savour the amazing sensation of lying on solid ground and having a body that might be bruised but isn't being squeezed by a scarecrow or held loosely by a dragon. Pickle lands with a thump and Vlad crashes down next to him. Rose slides off Pickle's back and immediately the dragons start licking her face with their black tongues. Then Vlad lifts up a foot and gently knocks her to the ground, where they nuzzle her and roll her playfully about on the grass. Rose wriggles out from underneath them and issues a stern command, making them slink away, tails curled under their bodies. As they plod over to the pool and start to drink great gulps of water, Rose stomps towards us, her slippers crunching over shells and wild flowers. She looks furious. Her normally straightened hair has sprung into curls and she's covered in grass and dragon spit. She stops in front of me, wipes the slimy stuff off her face and puts her hands on her hips. "What is going on, Arthur?" "Rose!" Wyn tries and fails to give her a hug. "Thanks for saving my life. I definitely owe you one." Rose acts like he's invisible and continues glaring at me. So Wyn gives her a final squeeze, then goes off to peer into the lagoon. "You came after me," I say. She shrugs like it's no big deal. "When I got back from town and discovered you'd gone missing too, I decided you were both playing a trick on me. So I watched some TV, then had a bath and went to bed." "Seriously, Rose? You watched TV, then had a bath and went to bed? Did you sleep well?" She scowls. "No, I didn't, as a matter of fact. It got later and later and I was all on my own and I was scared and I didn't have a clue what to do. In the morning, when you still hadn't come back, I decided to call the police. But before I did that, I crawled through the camp bed, even though I knew it was totally ridiculous, just to check it wasn't some weird portal to another world, and you discovered it was some weird portal to another world." She frowns. "Yeah, not what I was expecting." "And you just went through the bed, straight into the tunnel and ended up here? It worked the first time?" "Yep. I came out on the ledge, ducked back to miss the waterfall, then whistled for Pickle. Since then, I've been looking for you." This is typical of Rose. She has to do everything better than me. Running, spelling, entering fantasy worlds. She glances around, taking in the spectacular islands of the archipelago. "It's amazing, isn't it?" I say. "I guess." "You guess? Rose, it's incredible. Raw is real." She shakes her head stubbornly. "I don't know what this place is, but it's definitely not real, is it? Not like home or school or mum or dad." Under our feet the earth starts to tremble. "Ground wobble," shouts Wyn, delighted. "Don't worry, they happen all the time. You'll get used to them." After a second or two, the shaking fades away. "This place isn't safe," says Rose firmly. Then she starts to walk towards the hut. "We've got to get out of here, Arthur. Go back home." I catch up with her and grab her arm. "But we can't go home. Not until we've got Granddad." She shakes me off. "How do you know he's even here?" "I'm almost 100% certain that this is all some freaky dream, and any second now I'm going to wake up back in the real world." "I know he's here because Wyn found this." I pull out Granddad's blue inhaler. Rose stares at the familiar L-shaped plastic tube. "And Croaky was wearing Granddad's t-shirt. We have to rescue Granddad, and if we leave now, maybe we can get back to the crow's nest before it's dark. Perhaps with Pickle and Vlad, we'll stand a chance of beating Croaky." Rose makes an exacerbated sound. "Arthur, how can you speak like this? It's normal, and you're planning a little trip to the crow's nest. None of this is normal." She points at Wyn, who is punching a sunflower. "He isn't normal." "What?" says Wyn. "Who's not normal?" "No one," I say. Then I lower my voice. "I'm talking like this because we've got no choice. Croaky has stuffed Grandad, Rose. Do you remember what that means? Right now, Grandad is dangling somewhere in Croaky's dungeons, and he can't move or talk. If Wyn's right, we have less than 72 hours to get Grandad, or he'll stay like that forever." Rose frowns. "That sounds like something Wyn made up." "No, it doesn't. It sounds like something we made up." I'm almost shouting now. I have to get Rose to take this seriously. She stares into the distance. "You're right," she says eventually. "We have to go back to the crow's nest and find Grandad, but we can't go now. There's nowhere to land the dragons. It's all turrets and rocks, and there are too many of those things. They're scarecrows, I say. Croaky made them. Well, whatever they are, they would catch us in seconds. Wynne abandons his sunflower and comes over to join us. If we're going to get into the crow's nest, we need help from someone with brains and good magic. Hello, says Wynne, pointing at himself. Rose gives him a withering look. Like who? I say. For the first time, Rose smiles. You don't know where we are, do you? I look around, taking in the path that circles the edge of the lagoon and the huge flat rocks. No, although I feel like I've been here before. What if I told you that this lagoon is filled with merfolk? As she says this, a scaly tail flips out of the water, then disappears. A moment later, a face emerges, but only the forehead and eyes, before slipping below the surface of the water again. And that, says Rose, nodding towards the hut, is where Mitch lives. Wynne groans. Mitch the Merwitch? She'll mock my magic. She always mocks my magic. She's so sarcastic, I say. Do we really need Mitch's help? Yes. Rose raises her chin. You're not the only one who gets to have an imaginary friend, Arthur. Wynne tugs on my sleeve. What's an imaginary friend? I look at Wynne's big eyes. It's just a word me and Rose use. When we say imaginary, what we really mean is amazing. A smile spreads across his face. So my magic's imaginary. My ninja skills are well imaginary. Have I got it? Yep, you've got it, I say, and we follow Rose up the path to the hut. Mitch, you'll never guess who's back, cries Wynne, hammering on the door. You've only got both Masters of Roar on the doorstep. When no one answers, he jumps in the air, cries, Leaping Tiger Kick, and slams his foot into the door. With a loud creak, it falls off its hinges and crashes to the ground. Mitch is not going to like that, says Rose. But Wynne is gazing at his foot, too amazed by his own strength to consider the consequences of what he's just done. Imaginary, he whispers.